Hi, Misha here, and finally I have something new Star Trek to talk about. Eaglemoss's Shuttle Pack collection, issue 7. This will probably be the last one, unless maybe they do a Alien, not like Alien the series, but Star Trek Aliens setup, which would be kind of cool, honestly. But anyway, they're definitely kind of at the end of the line, and at first, I was a little... Anyway, I'll give my opinion if I think this is a hit or a miss. And I almost didn't order it, except, well, not much is going on. Why not? This comes as a set. Regular price is $100, which is high for 4 little shuttles. But if you buy them on special, you can get knocked down. And of course, you can usually get free shipping with Eaglemoss. With $100, you always do. So you can easily bring that down to about $80 shipped, which is still high, but, you know, Star Trek collector. And you do get magazines for each shuttle. Here's a few. They're pretty large, 8 pages. Of course, I have no idea if I'm presenting to the used to you in anything like the right direction, but c'est la vie. Each one also comes packed in its own case. Some people, or box, some people don't like these boxes. I actually do, because they're not like taped up. They're very easy to reseal. You have a clamshell plastic piece with stand and 2 pieces, and then the model. They're actually very well held in, all these. And you get an acutogram, little plastic clear display. Originally, they came in a little bit thicker cards. These are a little thinner, more flexible. On the other hand, originally, the little clip-on base that came with these was a little smaller and flimsier. So I think, all in all, they might have improved the acutograms just a bit. And again, these all come in this package. It does come with a seal on the bottom, which is nice. So in this video, I'm just going to talk more about the models in general, but I will do individual, more talking about the in-universe for each one very soon. Why not? So, what do we have? Well, these are numbered 26, 27, excuse me, number 25, 26, 27, 28. We have the Captain's Yacht from The Next Generation here. The Calypso. Then we have one here that I'd honestly never heard of, and it's just kind of got an innocuous name of Docking Shuttle. Then we have Cyrano Jones's Shuttle. And then finally we have the Type 9A Shuttle. So of these, 2 are essentially concepts from the companion tech manual encyclopedia that never really were on screen, and the other 2 were literally, blink and you'll miss them, backgrounds. So at first, very underwhelming. Most of the other collections, the other 6, had some in them that were pretty prominent. Others in the collections were kind of background, as shuttles and pods tend to be, but at least with those, we did get something that was kind of forefront. But these, you can tell they're getting to the end of the line. And at first, I was kind of like, I don't know about this. Well, let's just start here. The Captain's Yacht. By the way, each of these comes with a stand, pretty standard. They don't have custom tops for the shuttles. They're just this little plate. Luckily, the little, I guess these are landing feet for this. This was at the bottom of the USS Enterprise NCC 1701D, Next Generation. So technically we did see it. Oh, oops, I'll just drop it. That'd be good. Technically we did see it a lot, at least the bottom side of it, as it was docked to the Enterprise. But it was never mentioned or flown. This was created by Andrew Probert, and he actually would like, he encouraged the producers, showrunners, to use it in a few early episodes from season 1, for example, the Neutral Zone, but they didn't have the budget for it, and yeah. So what is it? It's a diplomatic craft, meant to be much larger than a standard shuttle. It's about 40 feet by 23, 25 feet on the other direction. It has 2 decks. The upper deck is more accommodations, the lower deck is more engineering. It is not warp capable. It can get up to about 0.7 of light speed. Has a standard crew of 2, pilot and co-pilot, plus typically would have an attendant, essentially a flight attendant, because it was meant for diplomatic events, and it had it was meant to have 4 diplomats, although I'm sure it could carry more in a pinch. It had 2 staterooms, a small galley, and even 2 small transporter rooms. And when it was landed on the ground, it actually had several hatches that could open up, kind of making it a de facto meeting area. So the idea was this would go from the ship to land on a planet and could pretty much be a building where maybe parties could meet and whatnot. Neat concept. It's a shame it wasn't used in the series. We did finally see the captain's yacht for the Sovereign class in Insurrection. Voyager also had a version of a captain's yacht that was never used. So having it in the collection is not a bad thing. It's reasonably sized. Mostly metal. The legs are plastic, polymer. Pretty plain. And I remember this from the old tech manuals from the early 90s that we all had back when. And thanks to the little legs, it sits on the stand quite decently. So okay, we can understand, even though why technically this was never featured as an independent craft, we saw it in every episode of Next Generation to speak of. It makes sense to have it. This next one. Eaglemoss calls this a docking shuttle. It's also been called a shuttle drone. It's essentially something like a work bee. It's a support craft for a starbase, a space station. It was in 4 episodes of Next Generation, spanning from season 1 all the way up through season 6, I believe. So it was scattered about, but it was just a little background ship. Has these aren't warp nacelles, they're more just powers, or maybe like a sled. Has a small hatch in the back, probably tractor beam emitters. Not a lot known about this craft. Again, just a little background craft. But there's actually a good reason why it's in the collection, I think. I'll get to that when I get to the end. But that's our next issue. So it was on screen. Likewise, This is Cyrano Jones's shuttle. It is a Smartmatic. Actually, it's called a Spacematic, but I couldn't resist the little dig there. It is considered a long-range scout craft, and these can operate independently. They don't need a mothership. In fact, they only need a crew of one, because Cyrano Jones operated it for at least 8 years independently. It is obviously warp capable, because he says in The Trouble with Tribbles that he used it for asteroid prospecting and trading, so it also must have some type of a cargo hold. We don't know how big it is. It's not huge, but it is larger than a standard Federation Class F shuttle. So let's say, I don't know, 10 meters? Just did a thing. And if you don't remember this from The Trouble with Tribbles, don't worry. It was referred to in that episode of the original series. It was also referred to in one episode of the animated series. But it was only actually seen in the DS9 Season 5 episode, the tribute episode, where they go back in time to the Trouble of Tribbles events. And even there, it was a background ship, and the name is not even confirmed. It was labeled Spacematic, but, I mean, this is a series that marked a ship, the USS Alka-Seltzer, so, yeah. So it was on screen. It was designed by Jason Kaufman. And I have an idea of why this might have been included too. I will say it's an interesting design. We have this kind of jet-looking nozzle on the back. We have very clear landing feet, which are a tribute to that era. No warp nacelles, but again, it had to be warp for him to get anywhere. And it had to have reasonably good facilities for him to live on board it for as long as he did. Even if he had routine layovers at starbases and space stations, he had to be able to do it. So it must have been better equipped than your average shuttle. It too stays on the stand pretty good thanks to its design. It's a little smaller, but it's pretty heavy metal. And then finally, the only one in the collection that I was honestly looking forward to when this was announced back in the summer, the Type 9A. And why was I looking forward to it? Well, this was actually never really seen on screen as far as we know in Next Generation, but it was pretty heavily referenced in a lot of material, the TNG Companion, the Encyclopedia, the Tech Manual. It appeared in a lot of manuals, and it makes sense. This is a long-range, heavy-duty cargo shuttle. It very much fits in with other shuttles like the Type 6, even the Type 7, just bigger. It's about 10.5 to 11 meters long. It can carry about 6.5 tons cargo standard, but with an upgrade version, it can carry nearly 9 tons. Has a standard crew of 2. Plus, it routinely had a third member that was kind of a cargo specialist. So, standard crew of 2 to 3. It was warp capable. Early versions were about warp 2. Later versions were uprated to about warp 2.2. And it was basically designed to haul vital or heavy or non-transportable cargo from a planet or station to a ship. And these were stationed on the Galaxy class, the Nebula class, seemed to have come into service around 2360, and were still in service by 2390 because at least one was on board the USS Titan, the Luna class. So they didn't have many per ship. Usually just, even if the Galaxy just had one, and the Galaxy is a big ship, and it's probably not something that was found on smaller ships like, for example, the Intrepid. But it's kind of a forerunner of something like a runabout or whatnot, just or the Argo shuttle from Nemesis. And it's a good size. It's pretty long. It's a little short, but it's a little bit light. The top is metal, but the nacelles are plastic and the bottom plastic. So basically it's a kind of a U-shaped top. And it too sits on the stand quite well because of the nacelles. Typically it wouldn't have weapons. Actually, none of these would. But the shuttle here could be fitted with 2 Type 5 phasers if needed, as most shuttles of the day. So why do I think these are in here? And what do I think of them after opening this up this morning? Well, the Captain's Yacht is kind of a good thing. We have the one from the Sovereign. We even have the Aero Shuttle for Voyager. So it only seems sensible to give the Galaxy one. I wish it were a little bigger. Honestly, I kind of wondered why they didn't do this as part of just the standard collection, was for the other Captain's Yachts. But seeing how plain it is, I think if this had been in the standard collection, if they'd scaled it up maybe 30 to 50%, we would have felt ripped off. So I get it, why it's in this one. So I'm okay with it. It's nice to have. This one, I think I know why it's here. Hear me out and see if you agree. This was designed by Dan Curry. And it was just a slap together, as he said, a quick and dirty, just a dirty deeds done dirt cheap type thing. Just something to put together in early season 1 of TNG for some, background activity for a space facility, space dock. So, if these nacelles or pylons look familiar, that's because they are a part of a disposable shaving razor. You can see the patterning here, and they just don't have the full razor head. It's like it's been, taken off. You can really see it. As for the body, it too was just a kind of finding it laying around. It was actually a broken off foot from a GoBot toy. So not even a Transformer toy, a GoBot. But as Curry said, it's amazing what you can kind of just slap together using stuff just laying around if you're creative and kind of see the potential. Anything could be a spaceship, he said. So that was neat. And believe it or not, the model was only about 6 inches, the studio model. So not a lot bigger than this, maybe twice the size. But believe it or not, they did give it internal lighting. Very basic lighting, but it did get lightning. So why do I think it's in the collection? It's definitely a forgettable ship. Well, after shooting was over, Dan Curry kept this as part of his collection, the perks of his job. And in 2017, according to Memory Alpha, he sent Ben Robinson some pictures of his model and said, hey, maybe you'd like to include this in the collection. Didn't insist, didn't even ask, just said, hey, here's something. And I think it's just because they felt that Dan Curry would like to see it. And that seems to be what we're getting to with this potentially last shuttle collection, is just pet projects. What, Robinson or just anyone wanted to see. So why not do them now before it's too late? I think because they felt Curry wanted it, they just did it. And it is an interesting looking craft. And I think likewise, Cyrano Shuttle was included because it's from a really good episode of DS9, and it also pays homage to the original series, and we don't have a lot of original series craft. And maybe also just to give credit to Kaufman, who designed this, because you don't see his name out there a lot. And it is just a kind of a cool looking shape. It's got a lot going on. Another reason I think it might be in the collection, being Season 5 of DS9, this would have been one of the last practical models made for that show. I think the very last one was the Romulan shuttle we saw in the Pale Moonlight, which would be Season 6. But at this point, they're going more and more to CGI. So that might have been another reason to do it, just to kind of document the last physicals. And I think because no one else would do it, and maybe someone at Eaglemoss, maybe even Ben himself, just likes it. So why not do it in a special limited edition? They're not going to make many of these shuttles, so now's the time. And finally, the Type 9A. I think, just like me, who remembers this from so many manuals and things, why not do it? If you want to have a complete TNG shuttle bay for your Enterprise or whatever, you almost have to have this next to your other shuttles, because we've got the others. We've got a couple of Type 6s. We've got the Type 7, Type 8. So this kind of completes the lineup. And even though it was never really shown on screen, it's as good as canon. When something's been in the series this long, it kind of becomes, and it's just logical. It's just a stretched out Type 6, essentially. And like I said, this was the one I really was wanting to get out of all these, that I was most excited about. And it doesn't disappoint. Mostly because it stays on the stand very well. These all do, thanks to the landing legs and whatnot. So what do you think? I know that really the shuttle packs are not what you would consider a great value, but it's a special thing. And they've only done 7 over, 7 years that this collection's been out, so they average about 1 a year. And they end up doing a lot of models that no one else would ever do. So if this is it, if we're up to 28, that'd be great. It really does seem like they are kind of out of Federation ideas. And I have to think, but I think Jones's scout ship here might be the first truly civilian ship we've got in the shuttle packs. Most of them are either Starship shuttles or at least Federation installation support craft like work bees. I think if they do another shuttle pack, they really should either do more civilian ships or alien ships or both. I would love to get Romulan shuttle or a Klingon shuttle. That'd be neat. There's been all kinds of weird shuttles popping up throughout Star Trek, so I think there's a lot of potentiality there, especially if you don't mind kind of going to soft canon or even technically beta canon sources that are highly recognizable. Why not? So I wasn't super looking forward to this, but I ordered it 3 months ago, kind of forgot about it, got a ship notice. It was a little late, but the good news is it wasn't stuck in the mail, in the post that long, actually. It would have been here a couple of days earlier, except for the holidays. I'm actually surprised. It surpasses my expectations. So I'm looking forward to doing individual videos on these and kind of putting them more into perspective and going more into the lore. So what do you think? Do you like any of these, all of these, none of these? What do you think of the shuttle packs in general? And hey, at least finally I have a new Star Trek, something to talk about with you. With that, please comment below. If you could, like, share, and subscribe. This is Misha, and I'll catch you very soon. Trek time.